This episode is sponsored by Sage House. Here on The Mothers, we talk to a lot of high-performing parents, and a theme comes up again and again. We all need help, but no one knows how to ask for it, especially when it comes to the myriad of things that make up the mental load. The dentist appointments, the kids' pants that suddenly don't fit, the gymnastics enrollment window that closes in 6 minutes, the dry cleaning someone needs to get, and the dinner someone has to make. All the things that aren't quite childcare and aren't cleaning and take up roughly 27% of our brains. Turns out what we need is a house manager, because the mental load is what they do. And Sage House will help you find the perfect one. They place exceptional household support across the US and Canada, and they even train nannies to step into house manager roles as your kids get older. They're also on a mission to destigmatize this kind of support. We judge ourselves so harshly for leveraging support if able. And what's so nice about Sage House, and what I really connected to about their brand, is that they finally make it feel logical, practical, necessary. I don't know, like working with a physical therapist to recover from surgery, or partnering with a financial advisor. We don't have to do it all alone. It's also founded by a mother of 3 who obviously gets it. And you'll hear an interview with her in a future episode. But until then, visit sagehouse.com. That's Sagehouse, SAGEHAUS.com. And finally cross the invisible load off your list. I'm Sarah Brown, and this is The Mothers, real conversations with leaders, creators, and thinkers about who we are, what we want, and how we build meaningful lives alongside motherhood. Hello! It is 2026. Although I'm recording this intro before we're officially in 2026 because my end of December 2025 self needed to get ahead of things so she can relax over the holidays, which we all know won't happen, but we keep striving for it anyway. And that is actually a most excellent segue to this week's true honor of a guest, Amil Niazi. As a freelancer, her work has appeared in the New York Times, Guardian, Washington Post, but you're likely most familiar with her name from her monthly column on The Cut called The Hard Part, about the intersection of modern motherhood and career. She's the one that writes stories with headlines that make you nod your head in like, hell yeah, she sees me, eager affirmation. That pandemic drowning feeling is back, for example. I don't need your opinion on my kid's screen time. Is it perimenopause or postpartum? Summer childcare is a special kind of hell. Amil is a writer, which she knew from a young age. Though, as you'll hear, it took her a long time and her first child to fully commit herself to taking the risk to be what she wanted to be. She's also a producer and a mother of 3 kids, and she lives in Toronto, so she's wise. She just came out with her first book, Life After Ambition, a, quote, good enough memoir. And I leapt at the chance to talk to her about it because, as you all may be noticing, I have a bone to pick with ambition, and I thought she could be the perfect person to go deep on it with me. And I was right. Amil and I talk about finding her way to her true calling imperfectly, how being your true self at work can be a revolutionary act, and some people just can't quit being revolutionary. When she started to see the promise of meritocracy wilt, and how someone without ambition could write a memoir called Life After Ambition. Talking with Amil was like sitting down for coffee with someone who just gets it. Someone who encourages you to listen to what you already know to be true, and someone who believes that one can and must exist as both a person and a mother. I hope you'll feel that same spark from this episode. So please enjoy my conversation with Amil Niazi.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I was so excited to, well, first, really briefly, like everything that is baked into all of your writing everywhere, and then certainly in your memoir, is like so core to the identity and the motivation behind this media platform that I'm trying to build around motherhood and career, but sort of like the honest version, and calling bullshit on things. And I feel like the deeper pieces of like, it's not just about hacks and, I don't know, having family systems. It's like challenges with identity and purpose and like meaning. And this lovely, horrific, annoying term, ambition, which I was also really thrilled that you're going at it so hard in your book, because I particularly take issue with ambition and, well, and also how the world is deciding to define it for us. And anyway, so I'm excited to have existential questions with you about
I love
ambition.
it.
um, so the way we typically like to start is hearing our guests share their story. I know you wrote that beautifully. And I also, I chuckled in the opening of the book where you quoted your son, who was toddler age,
Yeah,
saying, I don't want to just grow up, do work, and then die. And I feel like your story and your life is sort of, or one of the many full circles of the book, is like trying to live so that isn't true
100%.
for you.
Yeah.
But I would love to kind of hear your, light touch version of how we arrive at Amil of today. Writer, producer, have your own column for The Cut, the hard part. You're married, 3 kids. You published a book. You're like the spokesperson, ambassador for, I don't know, millennial, I thought I did all the right things, mothers. I feel like out in culture. So I'd love sort of, if you could give sort of the light touch version of how you think about how you arrived where
Gosh,
you are
yeah.
today.
I mean, I feel like it's been so many mistakes and fumbles and failures that in retrospect were like really beautiful opportunities to grow and go deeper into who I am and who I want to be. But really, it's
Yeah.
like I grew up in Canada, first in Toronto and then in Vancouver on the West Coast. We didn't like at first, but then like really grew to love intensely. Like the ocean and the mountains are like so much a part of my soul now. I still cry when I see the Rockies like on an airplane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hated it at first as a kid. It was like my nightmare. And then
Yeah.
I just think of my 20s as such a difficult slog of just like bad jobs, bad relationships, um, you know, bad habits, certainly. Although I had a lot of fun also in my 20s, probably like too much fun. And then, you know, at some point I started to find the kind of work that was really interesting to me. I got married in my 30s and then really dove headfirst into trying to have a kid. And that was like a very, again, failures and fumbles, but to get to somewhere very beautiful. And then as soon as I had a kid, I was like, why don't I just move my entire family to the UK to do a job while and like leaking
Yeah, it was
breast
bold.
milk
I'm
everywhere
inspired.
and, nursing in some dark corner of the BBC. But being there opened my eyes to what I really, really wanted to do and actually made me so keenly aware that I was doing the wrong thing in that moment. And everything after that is like when I started to actually, I think, become myself and live my life. And I quit my job.
Yeah.
I started freelance writing and pitching everyone and putting myself out there and like really writing my truth in the pandemic. I had another baby. I was living above my mom. It was like a very intense trial by fire. Like, is this really what you want of me? And it turned out, yes, it was and is. And that's kind of how I ended up here. It's like just really like doing the thing that I was always so afraid to do and realizing that the fear was really a fear of failing at the one thing that I loved the most. But
I like that. I did want to ask because it is one of many through lines through your story, and as is written in your memoir, is this idea, kind of coming home to this idea of you want to be a writer, and that your parents, Pakistani, Muslim, wanted sort of a quote traditional, reliable career for you, which as a parent I sort of understand. Where it's like, can you just be a lawyer and then we don't have to worry about you? I know it goes deeper than that, but for folks like you, and I think I'm realizing too, folks like me, where there are you have different creative ambitions. Those are really hard to nurture in a world where those systems are kind of falling apart. But you seemed, I was curious where this nugget of wanting to write came from, because it does seem like this quiet knowing is like woo woo as we talk about now. Like, where did that, when you were a kid, how did that like spark
Yeah,
start?
I think it was I was always a very quiet, shy sort of kid in the corner who was observing everything and taking everything in. And um I think through that I started to sort of narrate my experience through writing. And um I had an uncle who really, gave me my first sort of introduction to like literature and science fiction and
Mm.
Jane Austen and, all these wonderful books.
Mm.
He always encouraged me um, not just to read, but to also to write and to take what I was reading and turn it into, whether it was diaries or essays or whatever. He just was like, you know, use these things as a way of figuring out who you are. And that I just loved that idea. And then I had a couple of teachers who would read my school essays, my boring school essays out to the class. Very embarrassing at the time, but they were always like, Emil, you're good at this and you should pursue this, and really helped me. And that I think through that it was like, oh, I am good at this and I do really like this. And this feels like such a natural way for me to express myself. I always wanted to be an artist, but I have zero, like, I can't draw, I can't sing, I can't play an instrument, but I could write. And so that, that became my creative outlet. And then when people told me I was good at it, it was like, okay.
Yeah. One thing that you bring up periodically throughout the book too is about
Like,
related to identity and how it's very important to you. You struggled in office jobs where you had to show up sort of as a phony version of yourself. I actually think about, I don't know, did you have to read Catcher
I
in the
did.
Rye in high school?
Yeah.
Or is that strictly something? I still think back, we read it in sixth grade, and there's always like, I forget the specifics, but always this theme of
Phony.
like things
Yeah.
being phony.
Yeah.
And I still think about that now. I very much, what you were describing really resonates with me as someone who, for whatever reason, it's very important for me to be my authentic, true self to a fault. But I'm curious, like, kind of where, do you know why that's an identity evolves? And we'll talk about it in the context of motherhood, but I'm curious, like, if you would say that's very important to you. And I'm wondering, like, why. I have theories, but I wonder, like, why you think that's so key.
Yes.
To be
It's
authentic.
so nice to hear someone else say that they also struggled in those environments, because like I just was always thinking, what's wrong with me that I can't do this, that I
Yeah.
can't like show up and put on the mask and, have that work voice
Yeah.
and do it and be okay with it. Like it just I could
Yeah.
arrive there, the door would open for me to be in that space. But then once I was there, I was like, oh, I can't do this. This feels like an itchy sweater. I think
Yeah.
that, I mean, some of it is like this idea of, I think, um, shame and belonging and like who gets to be there. And I really found myself almost angry that I was supposed to be somebody else to belong there, and that I had to try and be somebody else to belong
Yes.
there. And I found that really just unfair and upsetting, because that means that there's people out there that don't belong there, even if they're good enough and smart enough. And why should I fit your mold, and why should I have to be like you? Like, isn't the whole point that the diversity of thought and experience and attitude is what creates those sparks of magic in a space like that? And
Right.
if we're all thinking and doing and acting and being the same, then we will always arrive at the same conclusions and we'll never get beyond that little box. And so I always really struggled. And so it was important to me, once got a little bit older and had more experience, to push back against that and to say, you know what, no, this is me. And what I'm contributing is actually really valuable and important and interesting. And it's because I'm not like you. It's because I'm different. The funny thing is, I find that's when you achieve the most success is when you can show up as yourself and
Mm-hmm.
people go, oh, right, you're different. You are
Mm-hmm.
challenging these things that we've always believed, which is just a long answer to your question. It always felt wrong that I had to be essentially different from who I actually was.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Incredibly well said, and such a good. It makes me tear up. I have my prior life was much more in corporate. I was an athlete and have all sorts of self expression interests. My parents are both writers. I resisted any form of
Uh-huh.
creativity because of that. But I think in practice, it's like in my blood, so to speak. But
Right.
um, there are some corporate spaces where I felt for a little while okay, but I couldn't fully
Wait,
dress up and make it this. It always felt fake. I remember my very first real job, quote unquote. I worked at a PR firm and leaving after the first day being like, so we just make up work so we have work to do. Whereas these sort of other professions, not that I don't know, there's like an artist calling or a creative calling that is I mean there's a reason people say like if you can do anything else do
there is.
that. But there is something that if you can't, it's a compulsion. It's a necessary way of, it's like breathing. So I appreciated you putting that out on the page. In terms of identity as a mom, did that, once you became a mother, did your sense of who you were and how you wanted to be able to show up shift fundamentally?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's like that was another space where I thought, okay, how am I supposed to show up here, like with these little people that I've created?
Right.
And, you go to the mom groups or the drop-ins and the toddler tumble class, and you encounter again spaces where there is a kind of an expectation to show up as a certain type of mom. And at first I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna inhabit that role and figure this out as one of these people. But again, that felt really uncomfortable. And I had to, again, really ask myself, what would showing up as myself bring to this space, and what different beautiful things um, could happen if I do just be completely myself, the Emil that up until now has done all these great things and learned all these interesting things. And you know wouldn't that be valuable to my kids as well? And once I did that, once I allowed myself to be again authentic in the motherhood space, it was like, it suddenly makes this experience that can be very difficult and overwhelming and uncomfortable um so just beautiful, to show
Mm-hmm.
up as yourself with your kids and have them receive you with such love and devotion, and the laughter that comes from that, the bonding, that it's almost like you have this secret club with your kids because you're being yourself. I think being yourself as a mom allows your kids to feel safe being themselves as well, because they know that this isn't a place where there are expectations on you of how to act and how to be. Like, obviously there's rules and there's guardrails, but ultimately, um, this home is a place where you get to be entirely yourself, and that's accepted and that's allowed. And we're creating the bar for these kids of how they're allowed to show up in the world. And so, yeah, I thought it was
Mm.
a struggle for me to get there, but once I got there, it was like everything just made so much more sense, and it just made parenting so much easier, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You in your book you mentioned how you felt like the term mom didn't really feel comfortable. Mother felt a little closer to comfortable. But I was just curious if you have any deeper thoughts on that, because we this
Hmm.
show is called The Mothers specifically because it felt like there was a little more potential for strength. It was a I don't know what it was, but to me it's mom feels a little more in service to others. Mother feels a little bit like it can stand on its own. But I don't know. I don't want to put words in your
Yeah. Yeah. Mom is completely enveloped by the experience. Whereas I do feel that mother is like almost a kind of energy that exists between, you know, you
Mm.
and the family unit. It's a given.
Mm.
Whereas I just always felt like mom was like, okay, I'm subservient now to these people
Yeah.
and to this practice. Whereas I do just feel like, because there are so many ways to mother, there are so many avenues to do that in your community, with your family, with your friends, like it just has this more
Yeah.
universal experience attached to it. Whereas mom is like very specific, very coded, very, to me, boxed in.
Mm.
Although, these days my toddler has been calling me mommy, and I
Mm.
don't mind it. I kind of like it.
I know.
But of course, my kids
Oh,
call
I
me
know.
mom, and um, they don't call me mother. That would be so crazy. But the way I address
No, I know.
myself, the way I see myself is as mother. And I just think it's such a powerful word.
Yeah. So speaking of power of mothers and motherhood, and you alluded to this a little bit in when you were sort of describing your career arc, um, but that once you had a child, once you became a mother, you talk about how that gave you the confidence to pursue the work that you really wanted to be doing this whole time, maybe. Can you share more about that? Because one of the many incentives behind the
Oh,
show or motivations behind the show is I resist the idea that mothers and moms get sort of collapsed down once they have children and sort of their own dreams are deferred, etc. But that there's actually a lot of strength and motivation and ambition, which we'll talk about. But that things become clearer and it's more obvious what you want and you need to do it now once you have children. But I'd love to hear you talk about that evolution for you and kind of what with each kid, kind of what woke up
yeah.
inside
I
you.
mean, I think for sure with the first, it was like, even before he was born, I started to think about my place uh, in the work environment. Like, what was I doing there?
Mm.
How much money was I making? What was going to happen when I came back from maternity leave? How would I be
Yeah.
perceived? Just like so much suddenly became um, scary about being a woman of a
Mm-hmm.
certain age, and then adding a kid into that mix. And I didn't really also have many people. At the time I was working at Vice, like there weren't a lot of moms
Yeah.
working there that I could look at and be like, oh, okay, so you're still doing it. People still treat you this way, and you're still on a certain
Yeah.
track to continue to rise up and make more money and do all those things that we're supposed to
Yeah.
do. um
I didn't realize, is that where you were like everyone has to be young?
yes.
The only
Yeah.
thing, yes. I have a my sister-in-law worked at Vice for a while. Some she really was young, but even she felt like she was too old to be there. So I thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah, no,
connecting
it
the
was like
dots.
a
That's
real
funny.
panic, like, oh my God, they already call me mommy and I'm not even a mom yet, and this is going to be hard when I come back. But having
Yeah.
him, and I'm sure you know this, like time suddenly becomes so finite and so important how you
Mm-hmm.
spend it. You're just like, if I'm not with this baby that I've made and that needs me so intensely, um, then what I'm doing away from him suddenly feels like it has to be important and I have to accomplish XYZ. Otherwise, why would I be away from him?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't mean that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to continue to do great things and, be ambitious, I guess. It just meant that I just looked at time very differently. And that's really what having my
Yeah.
first did for me. And then I just felt suddenly like I was very powerful too. Like, to grow a
Mm-hmm.
person, to feed them with your body, to essentially show them the world through your eyes. That is an incredible feeling, an incredible knowledge that you are capable of so much more than you ever
Mm-hmm.
imagined. Like, I just felt like blown apart. And then when I was put back together, um, maybe a year postpartum, it was like, I am uh, so powerful and so capable. And just like knowing that changed how I moved in the world. And it gave me the confidence to choose better for myself, I think. Like a lot of my friends who are moms tell me the same thing, that it just allowed them, just sort of like lights a fire under you to go out and pursue the thing that you want to pursue, because uh what's stopping you? You know what I mean? You've just done this incredible thing, is like so singularly magical, and then why wouldn't you be able to do literally anything else that you want to do?
Right.
Um and
Yes.
like, just as an aside, I was with some friends that have kids the same age as my first and second, and we've been like a bit of a community for like years and years and years, and we were having our little holiday dinner last night. We were gifting each other things, and one of my friends gifted me this incredible photo book that she has put together over the years of taking pictures of her husband's band. And then I had gifted her my book, and our other friend had just finished her photo book as well. And I was like, look at the power here. Like, we all have children. We all have these incredibly busy, full lives. And yet our creative drives are more intense than ever. And we are like, to make a book is so, so difficult. To do it with children in the mix is just like, I think, incredible. And I was just so moved seeing that yesterday, that we were like exchanging books. It just felt very, very inspiring. Like, wow, we're doing it, and we're choosing to move forward, even though it's so difficult and so draining and so overwhelming at times. But look at the end result. So yeah, I think kids can really show you what's really important and what really matters in your life. And I think that does give you a certain kind of confidence.
Yeah. You mentioned power also in this context, and sort of that there's so much power in what you do, and that after having a kid, you realize how powerful you are, which I totally agree with. Just curious if you would say, did you feel essentially powerless before having kids on some level, or not?
I think
Or
it's
it's
a
just,
energy. It's like, I think before having kids, I just wasn't entirely trusting of myself and what I could do. If you want to call it imposter syndrome or whatever, I just always felt like, oh, I'm not sure if I belong here. I'm not sure if I'm really as smart as I think I am. There wasn't that same level of innate trust in myself and what I could do, perhaps because I was pretending to be someone else in certain spaces, or was sort of shown through who was rising up the ladder. It's like, well, I'm not like them, so maybe I don't have what it takes. And so it's not that I felt powerless. It's that I just wasn't a total grasp of what I could do. And then afterwards, when you do things that feel like impossible, like push something out of your body, or the pain, like just breastfeeding was just such an incredibly life-altering thing physically. I'm still breastfeeding my toddler. You get to the cliff's edge and you realize that you can walk on air at some point, like you get as far as you think you can go, and then you push yourself further and you realize that you can do more and more and more. I don't think having kids is the only way to experience that, but for me, it was a very clear and obvious revelation. Like, yeah, there's a lot of things that I can do that I didn't realize I could do before.
Yeah. Well, it makes a ton of sense. And there are various anecdotes in your memoir. I think a lot of women, unfortunately, feel this way, that their life, and to your point, kids isn't the only way to discover your power. I feel like women go through the world and like things aren't in their control, or like the outcomes aren't the right ones. Like you do all the right things and the wrong thing happens. And to your point of like, you look up and those people don't look like me, that producing a child in some ways is like proof that you can do something. Like it's almost like proof that like I can create something and I can deliver it and I can do it well. And you can sort of intimately, it's like training this muscle to believe that you can in a world that I feel like, again, not to generalize, but my experience and certainly reinforced by others. I feel like women often do all the right things through school. We get the best grades. We're going all the great schools, blah, blah, blah. And then like the work world happens and we
Yeah.
just get fucked.
No, exactly.
And it's like, wait, right. And then I feel like there's a weird way that becoming a mother is like, look, I can do something you guys can't do. And they still don't, obviously, the system doesn't give us power over it. But there's a way, it's almost like sorcery, where I feel like we just realize we're way more powerful than all of them. Yeah, it's I don't know.
And I think like, you just said the system still doesn't reward that power, but then I think it pushes us to find our power outside the system, right? Like you're doing this podcast because you realize that you don't have to wait around for someone to give you permission to do this thing. And that's how I felt about writing too after having kids. It's like, I'm done waiting for permission to be the person that I believe I am. And having kids was like a fast track to that, Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about ambition. I have many thoughts, and maybe you're the perfect person to explain myself to me. I feel like I'm picking up from your book, but we were great students. We had lots of potential, and could be so much. And then somewhere along the way, ambition turned from, honestly, a term I didn't even think about when I was actively, quote, ambitious or something. But now as a mom, another phase of my career, I look back at ambition as sort of like just it's misused or something. It's used against us in some ways. And I feel like the idea of, I don't know, Lean In and Sheryl Sandberg are out there now talking about how like there's an ambition gap between men and women at work. And I just resent
which
the idea
makes me
that
so angry.
Women and moms aren't so angry. I know. So anyway, so I back up first. What is ambition to you? Like, how do you define ambition? Because I think that's like co-opted, and I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a younger age, it was maybe sort of what Sheryl Sandberg is talking about, like this all-encompassing drive and need to do and be and achieve more, right? Like the idea of being satisfied or being content with what you'd gotten was the opposite of ambition, right? You needed to always be striving and sacrificing, and because to be average or mediocre was a failure and giving up, so to speak. Like I didn't leave my hometown and everyone I know and love in order to just go and be someone in the middle. No, I need to be exceptional. I need to be on the top. Otherwise, what's the point? And ambition felt almost like a moral serving. Now I just see it as a tool, right? It's a tool that you can use to get from A to B, but it's also a tool that can be used, like you said, against you. It can be used to make you feel like you're not good enough, like you're not achieving enough, like you don't want enough. And I think if you don't know what you desire, then ambition can really, I think, become very toxic. So now it's just like, it is a tool. I'm not still desirous of achieving things or realizing my power and abilities. It's just that I do have a sense of contentment with the things that I have. And I realize that enough is enough. And, I don't need to want more in this idea that sort of Sheryl Sandberg is putting out there, that like, oh, men, like, you can be Elon Musk and be literally the richest man in the world and still be, hyper ambitious, and that's supposed to be something we should look to as like the right way to be. That he seems to be the saddest man on earth. And so it took a long time, but it finally realized, like, happiness really does, like, it's so cliche, but it comes from within, and it comes from your ability to have gratitude for what you have. And if you can be content
Mhm.
with the person you are, and and make the most of your circumstance, I really do think like that's the secret to happiness. Like, it's not always seeking something that will never ever satisfy you if can't come to terms with what you actually want, I think. And that's what ambition became, is like this overwhelming need to escape myself, I think.
Yeah. Well, your point about it being a tool is a really good one because during this podcast, I've looked up the definition of ambition like 100 times because I'm like, is it still really mean this? Because the world. So for our listeners who have heard this from me before, but it's a strong desire to do or to
Hmm.
achieve something, typically requiring determination and hard work. And I think the problem that I have now is that there's such a default assumption as to what you're
Yeah.
trying to achieve that the word, like the definition has been like altered in the way that it's used, I think, is people say it's a strong desire to have more
Yeah.
or have a bigger job or to make more money. Very
Yeah.
capitalist assumptions. And your point is the counter to that is actually real achieving something, gasp, satisfaction and contentment, which is like the antithesis of at least all things America. You're a little more enlightened in Canada, but I feel like achieving an ambition as like core to the American dream of like, if you just work hard enough and strive enough, you can get to a
Mm.
better place. And I feel like a lot of what comes through your book too is like the concept of meritocracy starts to crumble alongside your belief that ambition may
Mm.
be a good thing. Because you talk about it as a tool to get your childhood, which was a challenging one, wanting to kind of find a better life, have more financial stability, etc. But can you think about when it started to crumble, and in some ways was having kids like the nail in the coffin of like giving myself over to
Yeah,
them?
and I think it started to crumble as I got, steadier in my career, and, realized that I was good I finally found employment where I was good at it, being a journalist, like, not a total perfect fit, but certainly like very much a comfortable use of my skills. And I enjoyed the environment to some degree. And I actually really liked working in news, and I liked that pace. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good at this. It's reflected in how I'm rising up in this company. But I remember one time, I was probably like 26, but I was really instrumental in helping to bring the newsroom up to speed with social media. I understood Twitter, and I understood journalists doing live Q&As. It was just like I was a young person who knew how to use the
Mm-hmm.
internet, and I was helping bring these people up to speed. And
Yeah.
so I was good at this. I was doing a job that I essentially created for myself. But my title was associate producer. Eventually, systems that I'd created were more formalized, and the job became a proper job with a title. They realized, like, well, maybe we need to have like a senior producer in this department. And so they posted the job,
Mm.
and I remember I applied for it because it was like, I literally do this. Like, I invented this job. And my boss at the time, who was this incredibly rich, out of touch lady who didn't know how to use the internet at all, but was in charge of online news. Because I think
Mm-hmm.
they probably were like, what is online? We'll just give this lady who's clearly out of touch this role. Uh, and she brought me into her office, and she so condescendingly was like, I know you applied for this job, but I just wanted to let you know, we're not going to move forward with the interview process because, there's a hierarchy, and you don't go from associate producer to senior producer. You have to, become a producer first, and after a few years, then you can do this. And I was sort of like, okay. I don't really know why that's true. Like, you've not proved that to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've certainly seen like very mediocre dudes go make that leap seemingly effortlessly. But is it because like I'm a
Yeah.
woman of color who dresses like, you know what I mean? I was already at that point, like
Yeah.
dressing how I dress, wearing purple lipstick to
Mhm.
work, or, just like being more and more on myself. And it was like, I just didn't look like
Yeah.
the type of person that could make that jump. And so she said that to me very
Mhm.
condescendingly. I was like sort of flabbergasted, but I was like, okay, I guess that's true. And
Yeah.
then while they were boarding for that role, they had me do the position until they hired
Mm.
someone. So it was like, okay, so you trust me to
Yeah.
do it, paying me more, you're not gonna, but you don't trust me to actually formally have the job because there's a hierarchy and I haven't proved myself to you yet. So at
Mhm.
that point, I was like, oh, nothing I believed is true, actually.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about how hard you work and how good you are at your job and how much you are capable of. It's how the people in power perceive you. Do you speak the
Mhm.
language? Did you go to the same schools as them? Do you dress the
Yeah.
same way? Do they think that you would fit
Mhm.
in certain spaces? And if not, doesn't matter how hard you work, doesn't matter how good you are at the job, you will never go past a certain ceiling. And so it was really like
Yeah.
the beginning of the end. Although I remained
Yeah.
working in that field for like another decade. But, I bet
Yeah.
that would happen over and over again, where I would just be like doing 17 different things, having my bosses be like, this is great. Like, this is so wonderful. Thank you for like bringing this to our attention or formalizing this thing. And then, yeah, two really dumb dudes would be my
Yeah.
bosses.
You had a series of shitty hiring experiences in your book. It was shocking to me how frequently the door was open and closed in your face for reasons that were like illegal. Like, oh, she's pregnant. Sorry, we're not
Yeah.
interested. I'm so sorry that all of that has happened to you. And yet, nevertheless, you
Yes.
persisted.
And yet here I am. I
Yeah.
also think we ought, I had the ambition to
Mhm.
be promoted and to take on more responsibility and to lean more into like the management side, which would have been terrible for, like, I would have hated it so much, but I thought that that's what I was supposed to
Yeah.
want. I thought that that's what being ambitious was. It was like not being,
Yep.
I enjoyed writing. I enjoyed like that being my job and having fun at it. But I kept thinking like, yeah, but Emil, you're supposed to want more. You can't be satisfied with
Yeah.
this. Like, what kind of person would you be? What kind of feminist
Right.
would you be if you just like accepted
Yes.
this?
Totally.
And so that is like
Yes.
where things, I guess, came to a head. It's like, what do I really want?
Yeah. Yeah. Does it surprise you? I know we're like running out of time, but one question, then we'll shift to these short closing questions that we have. But does it surprise you that sort of the hack, I don't, it's more than a hack, but the solution currently is fully integrating both, and that your work and your life like
Yeah,
feed each
I
other?
think that's one of the things we took away from the pandemic, certainly in terms of how work collapsed everything. And there was no longer that fuzzy line. It was like, okay, I work and I parent and I'm doing all of those things at the same time, which wasn't
Mm-hmm.
healthy or good at all. I'm not saying that's the vision or the goal, but there was something so freeing about being able to say at work, hold on, my kid's in the background, and that's just what you have to accept because I'm a mom. And if he needs a little bit of a
Yeah.
snack, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and go get him a snack. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This is
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
And all of these things that I'm able to do, the multitasking, the empathy, the ability to juggle a million things and think 5 steps ahead and organize and plan. All of those things are good things that I bring to the job. And I'm able to do those because I do them at home as a mom. It just felt so unhealthy and wrong to pretend that I wasn't a mom at work. And also that my kids never realize that there are limits to myself and what I can give you. Although you are
Mm-hmm.
completely a part of my soul, which means that I have infinite time for you. There are also like times when I just can't get you the cheese, and that's okay. Right. And I think it's so
Yeah.
beautiful what I've been able to achieve by integrating those two things and seeing how my kids look at it and feel proud to inhabit some of those
Mm-hmm.
same traits and habits, you know? The other day I was working on
Yeah,
something
totally.
at my desk, and it's a long desk. And my son was working on his book beside me. It's called Buzz the Bee. And he was writing out the
Mm-hmm.
chapters and the dedication page, and occasionally like asking
Oh,
me for help. And my daughter was beside him on the other side painting the ceramics that we'd made. And occasionally I'd be like, oh my gosh, beautiful color choice, and she'd be like,
yeah.
well, yes, mom, I'm a great artist. And like she literally calls herself that. And the
I love
parallel
this.
work and play that was going on with us, it just, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is
Yeah,
exactly what I've always wanted, but didn't realize is like that this is all elastic, that my
yeah,
identity didn't get erased, didn't have to disappear, that they actually love and value that I have a life outside of them. And it can actually be
mhm,
something that's like a gift to them, for me to
yeah,
still have things and want things outside of being in service to them, and vice versa, like that work sees me as someone who is really loving and capable, and also has hard limits on my time for them, right? It's like I don't do
yeah,
weekends. If I have certain jobs that I'll do, and I'll just say like, listen, I have to leave at 2:30 and I'm going to go pick up my kid. And after that, like, I'll be back and forth, but I'm leaving. Like, that I don't need to stay. I love that we can tell people like, I don't need to be in the office. Like, you know?
yes. I agree too. I feel like the separation of those two things, I always thought of work and life and parenting kids. There's so much energy that's wasted in trying to pretend they don't exist when you're in one of the other spaces. But there is also like behind that, I hadn't thought about it until you were talking about it. There's like it implies a
Mhm.
sense of shame. Like I don't want people shouldn't know about that because I they wouldn't say that to you, but that's kind of what your
Yeah.
body learns, which is like I should pretend I don't need to also actually be somewhere else at
Exactly,
3:45.
exactly. Like you're slinking out of the
Yes.
office, like, oh, I have a meeting. And people are like, she's
Yes.
going to pick up her kid. And there's such disdain for that. And it's
Yes.
like, yeah, I'm going to pick up my
Yes.
child. Like, who else is going to do it? Do you know about the
Yes.
wait list for aftercare? Do you know about how much it costs? Do you know that, like,
Yes.
I don't trust
Yes.
some random person to take care of them yet because I don't, like, it
Yes.
feels so, like
Yes.
you say, silly to feel ashamed that we are parents and that we have
Mhm.
responsibilities and humans to take care of. Um, and even when I just had
Yes.
a dog, it was like, yeah, I have to go take care of my dog. Like you don't get to have all of
Mhm.
my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jupiter.
Jupiter, right? Jupiter matters
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Yes, yes. Okay, we close with these two quick questions and kind of timely actually. One is if you could go back to your new mom self and sit with her, is there anything that you would say to
Oh
her?
my gosh, I'm gonna cry. I would
Mm,
just tell her, You got this. Like you can do it."
yeah.
Because I remember
Mm,
just
yeah.
it was so hard with my first. I just was like rocked.
Mhm.
I did not expect
Yeah.
physically to be in so much pain. I didn't have postpartum depression. Uh, but I was just what is this? Like, what have I gotten myself into? Like,
Mhm.
I'm so tired
Yeah.
and I'm in so much pain,
Yeah.
and like I couldn't even really bond with the baby yet because I was just so overwhelmed by the
Mhm.
experience. And it took like months to finally feel like, okay, I enjoy this. This is fun. This can be something I can get
Yeah.
into. But yeah, I would just tell her like,
Yeah.
you are gonna be okay. Because I think that there's
Yeah.
a lot of women who don't realize what it's gonna be and aren't sure that like they can do it because it is so hard. Um,
Mhm.
so I would tell that
Mhm.
to myself for sure.
Yeah. That made me think also, you described actually, just to validate that you're not alone in this, not that you think that you are, but your experience after having your third, where on some level you were before sort of figuring out feeding and stuff, where you're like, wow, did I ruin everything essentially for this like quote selfish desire to have a third? I had the exact same thoughts after we have our two, and then our third was
Yes,
four plus years
our
later.
kids are very much
And our
in age difference, like 2 and
yeah,
then 4.
yes. And I remember certainly fueled by like postpartum hormone recalibration, holding this crying child who I'm trying to feed and thinking, did I just fuck
Mhm.
everything up? Like we had figured it out. We like knew how to do the things. And now here I am, like, I can't be with everyone else because I'm like stuck feeding this other baby, and it's all better now. And she's wonderful. And it all, as we always, it always is the right choice ultimately. But that's a jarring moment. I think people don't necessarily, a lot of people have questions
Mhm.
about, should I have the third? People don't really talk about that it can feel like you did the wrong thing for a little bit
Oh my
once the
gosh, yeah,
third is
that's very
there. But it all
validating.
works
That's
out.
so validating because I was really like, "Oh my God, what have I done? Like, I've ruined everything." Yeah.
Yes. 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 Okay, last quick one. Your kids may listen to
Mhm.
this one day. Is there anything you might say or want to say to them?
Oh my goodness, such a good question. What would I say to them if they were listening to this? That I hope they see that mom was just doing her best, that she was trying
Hmm.
to be a person and a mom at the same time. And I hope that they appreciate the sacrifice that that involves by listening to this and how honest we're being with each other and how vulnerable and how difficult that is to be honest and vulnerable about this experience. And I just want them to see me as a person, really.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. Thank you for
Right.
that. And I think you're writing this book, Life After Ambition. Everyone should go get it. And all of your writing, I think, is really doing that for others, like at scale, is helping them feel like they can be a person and a parent at the same time. And
Oh
that
my
could be
gosh.
good enough, or let
Thank
alone
you.
just
Yeah,
enough.
that's so kind.
um, well, Emil, thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time to chat with us. Really great to get to know you beyond the page. I really admire your work, and
you.
thank you for being you and fighting to
Thank you,
be you
Sarah. It's
in a world where people
so
want to.
lovely to meet you. I feel like we have so much in common. And it was just like
Yes.
so nice to have a conversation with someone who gets it. And I feel like we're speaking the same language, and that's
Yes.
so rare and beautiful. So thank you.
Oh, Emil, writing a memoir with 3 kids with no ambition. She was awesome. And I feel like I met a sister from another country and can't wait to dish about it with V. Let me give that girl a call. Veronica,
Hello.
have I found you through the internets?
How do you do?
Um, how do you do? Okay, so this is coming out. This is our first fresh episode of the new
Ooh,
year.
that's exciting.
So
Welcome,
we're
welcome,
being
welcome.
recorded December 22nd, but to our future selves of January 6th,
Oh,
2026, you guys
oh.
look awesome. You guys are healthy. You survived the Christmas chaos.
So
You're
look at
crushing
us
it, man.
go. Yeah, yes.
Yes.
New year, new you.
Message in a bottle.
Same
Message in a
same
podcast.
podcast.
Exactly. And yeah, to the person listening to this, remember how bad it was in the end of December?
And now look at you, queen.
Thriving.
You go, girl. Absolutely.
Oh God. So I just spoke with Emil, who is, I was describing her, I was like, you're kind of like the spokesperson for like millennial mothers who are like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh,
And
hell
why is this
yeah.
so bad? She like
Love.
speaks the truth. She's Canadian, and I mean, there's so many things that I want. Yeah. So period. That's all you need to know. She's Canadian.
Still in Canada or no?
She
Where is she
is.
at? Wow.
Technically, she was born in London and then moved to
Jealous.
Canada. Parents are Pakistani.
Cool.
Muslim. And
Wow.
so I think there's also like, we didn't get into it that much in the conversation, but if you read the memoir, it's in there a bit. But like sort of this, you have your kids in Western
Mhm.
society, and then they sort of like are interested in these
Yeah.
Western-ish things of like individualism and all this kookiness. So
Mhm.
there's all sorts layers of tension between the two, that between children and parents. But they
Yeah.
lived in Toronto and then moved to Vancouver, which she really resented for a while, but eventually came to love it. And then moved back to Toronto, married, spent some time in London, had a kid, and then came back to Toronto and now has 3 kids.
Wow.
But it's very much a story of like, so she's a creative at heart. It was interesting to like see her and speak with her on this podcast, because you see her writing. One thing that was so core in her memoir and true came through in the podcast was she's just someone who like, she has to be who she is. And we bonded over this too, where it's like in, I don't know, corporate office jobs, like your true self. Now it's sort of like in vogue, or at least it
No.
was for a little while, to be like your full self, bring your full self to work and be
Sure.
authentic and all this stuff.
I'm like,
But
can you
then
actually?
practice, correct.
Yeah.
And I think for some people, they're like, bullshit meter goes off a lot. And that really means be your authentic self in this certain way.
Yeah. Be authentically
But
who you think people want you to be. It's
correct. And make
yeah.
it seem authentic. Yes.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I think she's someone who she really wanted, she quietly was always interested in being a writer, went to journalism school. Her parents classically were like, be something like
A
reliable, like a
doctor.
doctor or a lawyer. Exactly. She's
Classic.
like, that's not who I am. She kind of made some, what do we tell our kids to do? Compromise. Made
Yes.
some
Love
compromises
it.
periodically. Like, okay, I'll work in this office job, even though it's like killing my soul, because I kind of buy into the larger
Sure.
why, but still like I'm dying on the inside. Um, and anyway, fast forward to like, it wasn't until she had kid that she really was like, I need to do what I'm meant to do. I need to do what I want to do. And she described it as like, I have the courage to do it
Oh,
after having a kid in a way that she wasn't necessarily there before, which,
love
and
that.
then, yeah, we talked a lot about like the power, how empowering it is to go through childbirth essentially, and like to have a child. And it made me think of your famous line where you were like, after, I don't know,
Yes.
you were back at home after creating a child, and people were like, and you're like, you want me to go to the grocery store? Do you
Yeah,
know
this
what I
is
just did?
this is my like favorite topic because I'm like, fuck everybody. You guys don't know what I did 16 months ago.
Yes.
Now even I'm like, oh
Even totally. Yes. Yes.
yeah. So I
And she
love
talked
that.
about how that was like empowering, and
Yes,
she felt more like, if I could do that, I could do anything. And I think it
literally.
implied that, I think there was a fear of failure in her kind of not pursuing certain things before. Um, but yeah,
What
she
a
also go ahead.
cool. Sorry, I was gonna say, like, what a cool take for many people. I feel like we hear this, like, oh, well, once I had my kid, I felt like I actually had to go the safe route and not explore those things or like challenge myself or go off the beaten path because there's so much more at stake. Versus her, she was like, oh, well, why would I continue doing this thing if I know what I'm
Yeah.
capable of doing? That's
Yes.
awesome. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes. The other thing, she and I didn't get to talk about it, but in her memoir, it comes up a bit. So she married to who seems like a wonderful husband, Matt. But they're in this choice to, or decision, or both, to move into this to pursue what she actually wanted to do around writing. That choice with that choice came uncertainty around income and like changes
Sure.
in jobs. And Matt stepped up in that
Hmm.
moment to say, essentially, like, I'm here, I'm supporting you in your pursuits, and like,
Oh,
we'll find a way to make this work. And how important that, I wish I'd brought it up with her at the time, but, and if she's listening, and if Matt's listening, good work.
yes.
But I do think that it's so, obviously we interview the mothers on this podcast, but like, so essential are the people around the mothers to preserve, rediscover, take action on their true identities.
Yeah.
And it's a nice, I feel like that's as true, if not more true, for people who present as like highly individualistic and like, I can do my own thing. That I feel like, yeah, it was very important. She was able to make these changes. I'm sure would have found a way anyway, but the fact that he stepped up and was supportive,
A hundred
and
percent.
encouraging and championed her was like so key.
Also, like, we as mothers do that for literally everybody else, and it's so important that we receive that in return. So, like,
Yeah.
great reminder, choosing your partners, not just like romantic partners, but your community of like who's gonna rally around you in order to like
Mhm.
show up and help you come back into yourself. I think that's so
Yes. Yes.
important.
We also heavily I was like Trump salivating at the so that her memoir is called Life After Ambition, a
Yes.
quote good enough memoir. And I have strong feelings about ambition. And I'm very curious. I like resent the term ambition. I hate the idea of ambitious mothers compared to like anyone else. So it was interesting to talk to her about ambition and what she's come to think of
The
ambition.
meaning of that. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the challenge is that what we kind of, or what I said, and which I'm going to take as like the takeaway. But I think what we ultimately talked about was like um, ambition as it's used today in kind of in culture is, and there's an assumption of what you're being ambitious about, which is more and more power, more money, more success. And that I think there's also just an age, a growing up element to this. But like she talked about getting, so her childhood, there's in different ways, kind of, it was a challenging childhood that she wanted to get out of, even just to get to more of a stable situation financially. And so she talked about like ambition really served her there of like, I really do need more.
Yep.
Um, ambition as society likes us to define it. I think once she was saying how once she reached a place where she had enough, she thought about ambition differently as something that is
Sure.
more of a tool as opposed to something that's like haunting you and like trolling you of like if you really wanted it more you could have more. And
What an
so
important reframe. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And like ambition, the antidote to ambition isn't laziness. It's sort of it's feeling having power and having enough,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Um, and yet she can flex it on, like, she's like, ambition is a tool. Cause we were joking. I'm like, and you wrote a book, casually wrote a book while you're raising 3 kids and
Just
working a full-time
casual.
job. Like, clearly
Yeah.
there's some level of ambition, but I think it's like, you kind of own that as opposed to, I love to go back to a capitalist society that will define ambition in a certain way. When in fact, it's just a desire to achieve something, fill in the blank. Um, anyway, so that was kind of like another big theme. And we found out she's also a 1984 baby. So I feel like
A
we're connected in
twins?
some way, spiritually connected.
Irish twins? I don't know. Something like that. Fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
sisters.
I know. So anyways, she was very cool. She invited me to a book reading in Brooklyn, which proves that she's cool. Um,
Oh,
and I was
you're
going
like,
to see if I could wrangle my cool sister who she'll like more than
you
me.
could prove you are also cool and know cool
My
people.
Brooklyn based cool sister. Yeah. And then maybe I'll tag along and pretend that I'm not
Hell
doing
yes.
that.
This is my cool sister. We're very similar and have a lot in common, and that's why we're sisters.
We have the same twitches. We do.
So good.
All right. Well, I know we have lots of in prep for whatever form of holiday magic we're trying to make happen.
True.
Is your joy not in moving the elf on the shelf?
Oh
Where's your
my
joy right
God.
now?
I'm so thankful that I think this is my last year as a parent who can like avoid the pressure of the holidays. I fear next year it's game over and it will be like full send.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely sitting the appreciation of that.
Yeah.
My joy right now is, oh, this was fun. Last night we went to a friend through mom group actually, hosted a little like Christmas dinner hang, and her town, she lives in a few towns over, hosted a Santa parade and had like Santa come around, like drive around town on a fire truck. And it was just so cute and sweet and like got me emotional because first of all, I was like, oh, we didn't know any of these people like a year ago. And now it's just fun to be able to be celebrating and enjoying the holidays, but then also seeing the magic through like all the kids it was just like, oh shit, like it's just gonna get better
You're a
from here.
walking cliche, V.
No, but it's so true. I got like really choked up. Like I was like, damn, like I don't know, before like it's just so they're so innocent and present. Like it was just
Yeah.
like right now this thing is just like really cool and I'm fascinated and I'm looking at it and I don't really know what's going on, but like I'm smiling and I was just like just really sweet.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was really it was nice and special. Even though it like totally fucked up bedtime and everything, obviously. Worth
Yeah.
it.
The sacrifices we make.
Yeah,
Ah,
whatever. So that's
beautiful.
mine. What about you?
My joy is going to be heavily scientific and practical, which is that I'm joyful, and I'm going to just basically make joyful be grateful. For Motrin.
Hell yeah.
Children's Motrin. God bless. Can you imagine life before? And I also so
Yeah.
sorry for people that cannot give their child
Yes.
Motrin or Tylenol for whatever unfortunate reason. But I, our middle child officially has flu A because she has to be
Terrible.
the best. And came in shivering in the middle of the night last night, like terrified. And we were able to help her fever come down thanks to the power of Motrin. And also layered with Tylenol. So thank you to Tylenol. Although I feel like you're a little meh in other, like, for some reason,
Yeah.
Tylenol gives me risk vibe,
Mm-hmm.
like if necessary vibes, whereas Motrin's kind of like, do you want a little bit of Motrin there?
Wait,
They just like
interesting. Tell
sprinkle
me
it in
that.
everywhere. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. No one should listen to this, but I feel like Motrin feels more like generally safe. I feel like Tylenol is more like use sparingly.
Oh, interesting.
I need to
I
back
did
this up
not
with
know
some
that you
sort
thought
of
this way.
research. I just feel
I
like ibuprofen is a little like less. It feels a little bit like the risks feel less specific. I feel like
interesting.
I feel like I should Google this.
I don't know anything about it, so I guess I just did not know, and I don't know
Oh,
anything about
well,
risks.
here's even beyond any sort of science. Well, this is science related. Also, Motrin lasts for 6 to 8 hours. Tylenol only lasts for 4.
Hmm,
That's child's play. But I
that's
enjoy,
interesting.
yeah. So, like, if we want to sleep at night, we have to give Motrin.
True, true. I did not
But
know
then
that.
we
Is
sneak
that
in
for
there to like
adults
layer on the
too,
Tylenol.
or is it just kids Tylenol?
Duration.
Yeah,
I don't know. See, I don't take
interesting.
Tylenol as an adult because it
Interesting.
feels risky.
You're
Someone out
scared of
there,
autism?
can someone? Oh my God, don't.
No.
Oh God, is that what I accidentally walked into? Is that what everyone's going to take away from me being like, I'm sketched out
Honestly,
about a
maybe.
Tylenol? Fuck, that's not what it is. I feel like it's more that we're gonna have to cut this whole thing. MAGA mothers.
I know. I was like, wait, what? What? No.
Tylenol. Ugh. But there is a reason why they're like to treat a fever,
Yeah.
like the first recommendation is
That's
okay,
interesting. I
ibuprofen isn't
genuinely
here's
did not
from
know
Google,
that.
which I still trust. Ibuprofen is an NSAID that reduces inflammation, pain, and fever, great for sprains, cramps, arthritis, but can upset the stomach. Tylenol is just a pain reliever slash fever reducer, good for general aches, fevers, and is easier on the stomach, but excessive use risks liver damage. I
Hmm.
actually think that is what I did take the liver. I was going to say
Interesting.
liver, but it felt too specific for me to say without having any point of reference.
Yeah.
There's something about that that I have learned, and I don't know why. But now
Honestly,
because
good to know
also
because I
ibuprofen isn't awesome for your body unless you take it in moderation anyway. Maybe I should just stop giving medical advice.
no. I think that's good. Honestly, everything it's important, especially if we're gonna give it to our kids that we know what we're doing. But I guess I just genuinely did not know that. I mean, I'm not like dosing Tylenol 24/7, but I didn't realize.
Yeah.
The novel thing. Good to know.
Basically, the bottom line is that safety. High doses of either are dangerous, period.
Right.
But
Sure.
they're each different. Acetaminophen, whatever is Tylenol, carries significant liver risk, while ibuprofen carries stomach/kidney risk. So pick your poison. And I think the deal breaker is that to me, Motrin lasts 6 hours, and that's all I'm gonna.
Honestly,
That's
truly. I did not know that the length of time.
oh well, you're welcome.
Yeah,
That I will stand by.
that's good. That's
Yeah,
good
it
to
is.
know.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay.
Knowledge dropped.
Okay, Motrin. Get it.
Yeah.
Get it, Motrin. Get it, girl.
Oh, V.
Well,
I love you dearly.
beautiful.
To our future selves, may your whole
Got
family
it.
be healthy by the time this is airing.
Hashtag no flu.
I know.
That'd be
All right.
great.
I love you the most.
Love
Thank you for
you.
everything. Hang in there.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye. Thank you so much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and we can reach even more rock stars like you. The Mothers is a production of Backline Media, shining a light on those who carry the team.